The doctor, like, I'll never forget, he looked up at me, he's like, I have never seen or heard of anything like this ever. I don't think me saying, oh, I meditate, was gonna help them understand the situation, but they were just completely shocked. They have no answer. When I was 34, I really wanted to have children, and I went into thinking I was being proactive, freeze my eggs, and unfortunately got some not great news. I found out, that I didn't really have many eggs left at all, not just because of my age, but I literally had like 0.00 something percent compared to what someone else my age would have. So very few, hardly any eggs left, non-existent eggs. And my left ovary also did not work. It was dormant. I still went forward with the egg freezing process, even though I was told it would likely be not very successful, and it wasn't very successful. I did it 6 full times, which is a very high number of procedures for that. And just kind of got comfortable with the fact that there was a very strong chance that I just wasn't able to have children. I'm now 41 years old, and I went to my first Dr. Joe event in Dallas in 2022, a couple years ago, and I've had really 2 significant life-altering events through this meditation and this work, and I want to share it in case it's helpful to anyone else that was maybe in my situation. The first one is when I started meditating in preparation for the event, I had this I don't know how else to say it, but I was just struck by this image, and it was like a hallucination, but I was just meditating. It was just this image of this boy, and it was the most familiar feeling, like he says, that I've ever known felt, because it's like I knew him as my own child, and it's something I never felt before. And what was weird about it is it came out of nowhere. And if I were to ever be able to have kids, it would likely be a female. We only have girls in our family. I'm one of several girls. So it never dawned on me that I could possibly have a boy. Well, this image just kept showing up in my meditations, kept showing up over the course of months. And it was just wild. And I started having this confidence, this knowingness that I was going to be a mother. And I was 40 years old at the time, and so then I go to my first event in Dallas, my week-long event, and something fascinating happened. We did a changing of the boxes meditation during the event, and I, in my mind, started rebuilding my anatomy. I rebuilt everything about my anatomy, made my eggs tons of eggs, and my body was youthful, and it was glowing, and it was bright, and I just did all this in my mind. And what was completely bizarre is that physically things started changing, literally in real time. That's within an hour of that. I started having these really, really strong sensations, like a zinger sensation in my left ovary. And it felt like it was going like this shaking, shimmering sensation. And my mom was with me, and I told her throughout the course of the week, I was like, this is bizarre. It's really, really strong. And it happened for the whole week. And at the same time, within that same day, I started bleeding, very heavily bleeding. And I bled for 20 plus days straight. It was bizarre. And for some reason, it felt good. It felt like something was sloughing off and rejuvenating, even though that sounds a little daunting otherwise. And then within 2 weeks after stopping bleeding, so just less than a month and a half from leaving the Dr. Joe event, I became pregnant naturally at 40, and it was unheard of. My doctors didn't think that would be possible. I was told otherwise, et cetera, et cetera. It's such a blessing and a miracle in itself. And the second piece of this story is even more profound to me, and something that I think is just, and I don't even have words for it. It's remarkable. 12 weeks into my pregnancy, I went in to have, to do the normal sonogram and blood work, et cetera. And they did the blood work that they do at my age to just double check that the chromosomes are okay and that the health of the baby is okay. And by default, it tells the genetics of the gender of the baby. I got the results back. They were inconclusive, which is considered a red flag, especially with my age, and that led me to several specialists where they performed a couple procedures. One was where they stick a needle inside my placenta to pull the specimen to check the health of the baby. And the way that process works is they put it in a petri dish and they call and give you the results, good, bad news, and then it sits in that petri dish for a couple more weeks and then it's discarded. But it is a diagnostic test. Life and death decisions are made every single day on this particular test. And my results came back really terribly. There was something called monosomy X, which is a very severe genetic disorder. Most people usually don't stay pregnant. They were surprised that I hadn't had a miscarriage at that point. And then if you do carry the baby to term, often they pass away after, or if they live, there's extreme health conditions tied to their, to the rest of their life. And only females can have this. So I learned from this result that it was an unhealthy female, and which would have been great if I had had a little girl too, but I just kept having this hallucination, this meditation of this boy. So I literally shut out my world. I went somewhere remotely, I stayed in nature, I meditated 3+ times a day. I was doing the changing the boxes one, the energy center, the gratitude one, and anything I could think of, and that's all I did. And all I focused on was healthy, happy, whole baby boy. And I had to get desperate enough to get over myself, if that makes sense, to even subscribe to the fact that could be possible, because that sounded crazy to me. So I told the doctors I would like to have a second procedure, which is redundant and unnecessary, going into the amniotic fluid, pulling the sample out again. And I was gonna have that done, so I'd scheduled that in the meantime, and they'd already given me the bad results. Unhealthy female girl, 50 cells tested, all 50 compromised, abnormal, not healthy. That specimen right there, set in a petri dish for 2 weeks, and when they're finished with it, they look at it again and verify the results. The exact same specimen started reading as normal male baby, the healthy normal baby. And so it went from an unhealthy female baby, the exact same specimen, to healthy male baby boy. And the doctor, he said, not only has he never seen anything like this, he'd never heard of anything like this. He was checking with his double board certified genetics specialist at Stanford and talking to his counterparts at Columbia, all over. They had never heard of anything like this. And then I did go through with the procedure again, just to verify, and it was normal baby boy. And now I'd actually like a little baby boy. He's 9 months old and he's healthy and happy and perfect. It's truly a miracle, and it has dismantled my belief system in every way. And if there's any way it could be helpful to anyone else, I hope it's given to them, because I now know, literally anything is possible. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, anything is possible.